This is Gun Cranks.
Well, hey, welcome back. It's the Gun Cranks on our very own Gun Cranks channel. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. That's Tom McHale, the editor of American Handgunner, and that's Roy Huntington, who used to be our boss, and he's now retired to a bucolic farm in Missouri. Hey, guys, it's great to see you back.
I got canned.
I got canned.
Canned? Well, we don't talk about that.
Does that qualify? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of good stuff. We're going to talk about Roy's experiences with horses. I'm sure I'll wet my undergarments on that one. We're going to talk about you wouldn't believe. We're going to talk about cop stuff. And Tom's got something that it looks like it might have come from one of those places next to a truck stop on the interstate that has the big sign. And, well, anyway. It's out of control. It's off the rails. We are the Gun Cranks. Gentlemen, let's get started. Hey guys, it's time to talk about you can't make this up. And we're going to talk about all the
on the air?
I said and we're going to say so much that you're not going to be able to even understand what we're saying, except you're going to go, yeah, you're right. You cannot make that up. So, okay, first story out of the gate, the NRA bankruptcy. Have you guys been following that? It is insane. Unfortunately, most of the coverage, for whatever reason, is coming from the anti-gun side. Like the pro-gun media aren't really covering it, and I guess it's pretty obvious why. There's some malfeasance going on, and case in point is the board didn't even know they were filing bankruptcy until afterwards. I mean, what kind of is that?
Well, it's a need-to-know situation, I think, right?
Whatever.
They're compartmentalizing sensitive information.
Yeah, it's a CIA, right?
I'll tell you what, I would not have said this before only because I wanted to sort of protect the sanctity of the NRA, which maybe too many people have been doing lately. But when LaPierre did his jump to power, all of my police hackles went, you know. He seemed clearly a manipulative, power-hungry power grabber, and it ends up that we were right. You know, I just wish that someone had the huevos. Can we say balls? Probably, huh? To come forward, and can I run with that for just a second more? There was a time about 5 years ago when I was talking to someone who was on the board, and I said, you know, I was thinking of running for the NRA board because I like to think I would have been able to help a little bit, you know, and do that. And this guy knew me, and he's a really trustworthy, honorable kind of guy. And he said, no, you don't want to be involved. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, this is my last season. And he says, I really can't talk about it because there could feasibly be legal proceedings at some point. He said, but it's not what you think it is, and you should not be involved.
Wait a minute. How long ago was this conversation?
That was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
And so they knew then, you know, and it's just a very sad thing.
Well, don't take our word for it. The transcripts, the what do you call them, the depositions, all that stuff's online. You can actually read the documents, and it's, again, like Roy said, I believe in the NRA. I believe in their mission more so than ever. But man, the folks running it, bad. That is you cannot believe.
No, Jim Shepard said it very well. He said you follow the money, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've seen this before. It's happened. It's going to happen to the BATF right now, but that's another story. Is that here we have the NRA, and it's a good people and a hardworking president, and now everybody's trying as hard as they can. Then this corrupt SOB gets in charge, and then as other people become his followers, then they get the perks and the advantages and who knows the money, I don't know. And so suddenly then they become stronger than the quote good people. And so then there's that subtle power shift. And that's how dictators take over a country, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
It's the same way. Yeah.
You know what's important with this whole fiasco is I think terminology and understanding is very important. There's the concept of the NRA, which is all good. And to me, the concept of the NRA is lots and lots and lots of members, 5 or 10 million members that impact legislative decisions, that advance the cause of safe and responsible shooting, and all of those. Those are all good things. I mean, it's kind of like the concept of the United Nations is good in theory, right? The execution is absolutely appalling, but it's important to separate these things. We're talking about current managerial leadership issues at the NRA, not the concept of the NRA itself. I would love nothing more than to be vigorously supporting the concept of the NRA for the next 100 years, right? But something's got to change there.
Well, I think we can
do that. I mean, I'm sorry, Brent, but he's right. Tom's right. Is we have to continue to support the concept of the NRA and the people there. We all know people there, and they're really nice people, and they're good people. And they're appalled by this right now, and so we have to keep supporting that. So I'm sorry, Brent.
I agree. I was just going to say we could make this a whole show, but that's just some you cannot believe. So check it out. Let's move on to our second take, which is the Dante Wright shooting. Have you guys seen this? It's unbelievable. If you're one of the few people in the world that hasn't seen the video, because it's all over the internet, basically a male and female officer stopped Mr. Wright. Apparently he didn't stop right away, and that's kind of being glossed over in the mainstream media. Then he got out of the car. They tried to take him into custody for something, and then he jumped back in the car, tried to take off. The female officer of the pair apparently was going to taser him and says she's going to taser him. It turned out to be her pistol in her hand. And it turned out to be some really bad. So a couple of takes on this is, number one, if you do what the police tell you, you don't have to fight them, okay? Let's not forget that point, because it's totally being glossed over by the mainstream media to further the agenda. Second of all, I cannot defend that female officer, because I don't know how. I've been in on multiple in the field deployments of tasers. I've been trained and shocked in testing. I don't know how anybody in their right mind that wasn't panicky could grab a taser, or I'm sorry, your pistol, and think that's a taser. That just makes no sense to me. But Roy, you had a good observation.
Well, I don't know the details of this, in the sense that I don't know what her career was. Let's just say the officer's career. But it said that she had 26 years on when the last thing I saw today. And so my question is, other than the rare, really old-time beat cop that has been in the field for 26 years, we've known a few of those guys. They're perfectly happy doing that. That's what they've done every day of their career. They don't want to be a sergeant. They've been in the field the whole time. Okay, great. And those guys are usually really good cops, by the way. But the other one I see is when you see a 25-year sergeant in the field, that's because they've often been in plainclothes jobs, inspection and control and detective jobs for the last 15 years or 20 years. And they promote, and the first thing they do is they put them back in the field. And those, I'm not saying she was, but it has all the earmarks, and we should find out. But those, I think, can arguably be the most dangerous person in the field, because it's like the fighter jock guy who thinks he knows everything, and then he meets somebody who knows more than him. These people, they think they know everything because they've been in plain clothes, they've been these special assignments, they make sergeant, they come back in the field, and now they're trying to supervise 20-year field officers. And I've seen this go south. And I don't know that that's what happened, but let's see.
Right.
Tom, your thoughts from a non-law enforcement background?
It's tough, man. There's a lot of tough issues here. I agree with you. Your initial comments on, you know what, when you get stopped, talk, resolve it face to face. There's lots of stuff going on here that just didn't need to happen at all. Did we have to run? Did we have to get back in the car? Did we have to drive away? Should he have been shot? No. I mean, come on, he was stopped for expired tags and had a warrant for his arrest. So there's a risk factor there, right? We're escalating the situation. I don't know. It's a tragic situation all around.
That's just some bad and we're going to see what happens in the future. But right now, it's the hot topic du jour till, unfortunately, the next one, which will undoubtedly happen. But let's end this on a positive note. Tom, there's some good coming down the pike. We're getting ammo again.
Are we?
That's what they say.
Well, no.
I've actually had field reports that Big Green is back.
No. Well, yeah, but last show we talked about, and I think we all agreed that it's really a conspiracy, the whole lack of ammo. Was it that, or was it it's not a conspiracy? We voted on it, but I don't remember the outcome.
Cut. We're done.
Not a conspiracy. Okay, no.
No.
Okay, well, since we're going that way, no, there actually is good news going on right now. Big Green, Remington, is in the news this week. They are cranking out ammo again like crazy. They were struggling for a while with the whole bankruptcy thing, but plants back in action. You know, according to management there, rounds are rolling off the line and going out the door. If we'd all just stop buying like madmen and women, there might be some to go around, right?
Well, Federal's running the plant now. Vista Outdoors, they bought it. Yeah. And our good friends at Federal, they know their stuff. So if they're running Remington, and I've had, like I said, reports. I got a friend of mine that just ordered 250,000 rounds, and they were told they'll be there next week. So.
Two rounds. Did you mean to say 2 rounds?
2-5-0-0-0-0.
You know, can I inject
resorting to sign language?
I want to inject something here that's not politically correct, and that is that since Remington is not the old Remington anymore, I think we need to say something that needs saying. A lot of people had some quality control issues with the old Remington ammunition. I did, my agency did. I mean, arguably in the old days, it was the only factory ammunition. I really wasn't sure if it was going to go bang when I pulled the trigger. And I think having Federal CCI under the umbrella of Vista happen to Remington is an absolutely marvelous thing, because Federal and Spear and all that are absolutely premier, high quality stuff. And so this is going to just really be good across the board. So I applaud this, and I'm glad to see them in production.
Excellent.
Yeah. They know a thing or two about making ammo, right?
Yeah.
They know a thing or two. That's right.
Well, that's our take on you can't make up. And unfortunately, gentlemen, we were going to use the S word a lot, and I'm like the only one that keeps continually throwing it out.
I forgot.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we need. So we'll try this next time on You Can't Make Up.
All right, bye-bye.
Brent.
Yes.
How old are you?
Physically or emotionally?
Both.
Physically, I'm pushing 60. Emotionally, I'm
and the reason,
8 to 12.
The reason I ask, have you ever seen the greatest show on television ever?
Starsky and Hutch?
Oh, come on. It got an Academy Award for Best Show of All Time. It's called Mr. Ed.
Ah,
remember that?
Mr.
About the talking
Ed.
horse.
Wilbur.
Yeah.
I love Mr. Ed.
That was pretty good.
It was a talking horse. It had a YouTube channel and everything. It was some awesome stuff. I understand Roy is getting into the horse game now. Now, I don't know. Are we racing, or are we talking horses, or what's going on?
I was wondering where the hell we were going with this. This is the part where you throw it on my shoulders and tell me to come up with something witty and charming about some silliness that I was involved in. You know, actually, I like horses. I watched Mr. Ed, and if anyone watching this is not old enough to know, go to our friend YouTube. They're all over YouTube, and you can watch Wilbur talk to his horse and all that kind of stuff. But so when we moved here to our gala, you know, rural extravaganza paradise, Susie said, you know, I always wanted to have my own horse. I used to ride, and I like to have my own horse. So as a dutiful husband, what do you say? Anyone?
Of course, dear. Sure.
Yes.
Of course,
yes,
dear.
Right.
Yeah. So I sharpened up my checkbook because, you know, the first thing I learned was how much an actual horse costs. And the $500 you horses, which I went and looked at, trust me, it's like a 30-year-old British car. It's the most expensive, cheap car you'll ever buy in your life. You know, and the horses are like that too. They call them swaybacks for a reason. So
you shouldn't shop at the glue factory.
You told us that you could
Yeah, I was shopping at a glue factory. That's exactly right. And that's kind of who we got in with. So our neighbor was a nice guy. He's a doctor. He says, I've got a horse for you. His name's Speckles, is a speckled, they call him something. I can't remember. I'm not a cowboy, so I don't know what they're called. But so we got Speckles the horse. Speckles was supposed to be like 7 years old. It ended up Speckles was like 18 years old, and had no teeth. But I don't know that. I mean, I don't know. What do you do? Check and see if a horse has teeth? I don't know about these things. And so we got this horse, and he was a little peaked. We found out later on that his owner had died, and Speckles was left alone in the corral for 2 weeks, slowly starving and dehydrating. So there's that, okay? So we get this horse. And they bond immediately. Speckles and Susie, they're the best of friends. And then she would get his food pail and bang it on the post, and he would come running across the thing. But then I started to learn about horses. And I'm going to say one thing. Has anyone here owned a boat? Brent, you have a boat,
Yes.
I know. Right. Okay. Boats are holes in the water that you put money into, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And the best boat to have is one that your friend owns. And then you can just go boating, and then you wash your hands and say, thank you very much, that was fun. You know what? Horses are the same way. Yes. If your neighbor has a horse, that's the best way to own a horse. That's because you can go ride it and then say thank you, and then scrape the horse off your shoes and then go back home. So, and by the way, the farmers make this big deal about the smell of manure. There's a smell of money. No, it's the smell of okay? I don't know. Maybe if I was making money on it, but I did not make money on Speckles, and I'll tell you why. First of all, they bite. Nobody told me that. Did Mr. Ed ever bite?
No, I'm calling a hard stop right
No
there.
teeth.
Because you just
What?
told us
No
Speckles
teeth.
has no teeth.
You ever been gummed by a horse? I rest my case. I have. Okay? They steal stuff. I didn't know horses were thieves. I had my cell phone in my back pocket. And so I'm trying to get some food, and I hear, nudging in my back like that. And I said, Speckles, what do you, get out, right? And so then I hear kind of a crashy, clunky, rocky sound. And I look down, and he had stolen my cell phone out of my back pocket, crunched it a little bit, and then dropped it on the ground, and then still expected me to feed him, which you have to. Otherwise, the police come and get you for being cruel to a horse. What else did they? You call them and they come up to you and you think, oh, look, horses are nice after all. And they've got these little soft nuzzles, and you see those pictures of people and they go, oh, could you, horsey. And it's fun because they blow their little horsey breath on you, and that's cute. Except Speckles weighed 1,100 pounds, and he would stand on my foot. Because they cuddle up to you like that, right? And just about the time you're being all relaxed and happy and thinking maybe owning a horse is worth the $8,000 a year, he steps on you. And okay, all right, that's all right too. But now what? You have 1,100 pounds on your foot, and you can't just push him off. Because then I think they like you, and he would lean into you when you were trying to push him away. Oh yeah, see, people never told me anything about like that. They poop in their feed. Okay? Cows poop in their feed. Horses are supposed to be smart. That's all I got to say about that.
I always assumed they were.
No. And there may be smart horses. I mean, Roy Rogers had Trigger. See, that is the problem. I thought horses were all Mr. Ed and Roy Rogers. No. It's all about breaking their feet. It's all about getting diseases. It's all about having to take him to the vet, where the vet puts his entire arm up their butt. How is that anything that you want to own? So, and can we do one more? Do we have time for one more thing? This is the truth. You know all those movies where you see Indians riding horses with no saddles?
Yeah.
Who here has ever actually done that? I have done that. Yes. I'm thinking, I can do that, right? My neighbor said, oh yeah, you just hop up right on there and hold him by his mane, and you can just ride around on the property. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I hopped up on Speckles' back, there's a reason that saddles have a saddle blanket and then they're shaped to fit your bottom, because right down the very top of the back of a horse
The bone.
is the backbone. Yeah, which is like there. Here, see that right there? Okay. Now, sit on that. And you have nothing to hold on to, right? So then this is another thing they don't tell you about horses. They don't all just giddy up and whoa a boy when you tell them. They think on their own. And so it was like I said, okay, come on now, let's walk slow. And Speckles decided he saw something on the other side of the pasture that he had to go see really fast. So there I was on the back of Speckles with no horse, riding on this thing, trying to hold on. I pulled his ears, I tried everything, and I got off, and I hobbled back home. But what it did teach me was it taught me why Indians were always angry. I mean, I understand why they were angry all the time if that's what you had to do. I know. I mean, that's all. And that was 1 year with a horse. And so I don't recommend. Horses are nice. If you can find a unicorn, get a unicorn. And because they rainbows, and that's a pretty good thing if you ask me.
Okay.
That's all. I'm not making anything
Let me call a hard stop right here, because number one, these are real tears. I'm glad we don't have to rehearse this stuff before we record it. But let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined us, this is a first on the internet. Roy Huntington admits being gummed by a horse, and then we talked about horse fisting. So we cover it all here on the Gun Cranks.
I feel like I'm a victim. I've had enough of this. Can we go on to the next
You're
topic
supposed
now,
to end
please?
this, and you just can't seem to.
Well, because it was painful. I'm telling you, I was a victim. Yeah. And everyone told me all this rural stuff was really cool. And there's a lot of it is really cool, but I'm here to tell you, smells like okay? Next, please.
We're done.
You know, there's a lot of talk right now. It's really in the news about these 80% guns that are kind of unfinished guns. And I don't really have a lot of experience with them. I know I've taken some whole guns and turned them into 80% guns, but kind of unsuccessfully. But Tom is our resident expert, and I'm going to hand off to him. Tom, can you get us up to speed on 80% guns, and what does that mean with the legislation that's going on right now?
I have a procedural question first. Can I claim qualifications as expert with the experience of building two?
It's more than I got.
That's two more than I've built.
Well, it's really like one of each, one rifle and one pistol. So does that qualify for expert status in this circle?
Yes. Gun Cranks have hereby qualified you as experts.
Thank you. I'll need that in writing when we go. But no, I mean, the basic idea is pretty simple. In this country, for now anyway, it is perfectly legal to manufacture a firearm for your own use. You can't transfer it, you can't sell it, because then you'd be in the business. But you can make one for your own use, provided you are not prohibited from having a firearm in the first place. You know, if you're a convicted murderer, no, this is no loophole. you still can't have one. But if you're an eligible citizen without anything prohibiting you from doing that, you can make that.
Now, are these the same thing that we hear people call ghost guns?
Yeah, except they've expanded the definition now. They're trying to include any gun that has a serial number taken off, which is absolutely insane. But strictly speaking, a ghost gun is a gun with no serial numbers.
Okay.
And that's a good point. You know, with a manufactured firearm at home, you do not need a serial number on that. You made it for you. You're going to use it. You know, and so on and so on. So the neat thing about these is companies like 80% Arms have working with the ATF to make sure everything's up and up. They produce kits. Now, you know, MSNBC will tell you that you just order everything you want over the internet and put it together in 30 seconds, and there you have a fully illegal firearm. But that's not the case. What we're talking about are, in this case, this is an AR-10 receiver. It is a giant hunk of aluminum that you have to machine out. right? And I'm talking, Roy, I know, just bite your tongue for a minute because you do real machining. But Brent and I, we can say, hey, if we use something like this, like a high-speed router with a nice sharp pointy end on there, and make aluminum shavings fly all over the place, this is machining, right?
Yes. Yes. It is
Brent,
machining.
It is.
Agree with me here.
It makes a huge. It makes a
Yeah.
huge mess, and you're right about that. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a picture. We'll see if our producer can drop in a photo of some of the epic mess this makes, and it's glorious. Let me tell you that. But that's the idea. You get it. 80% ready to go. You do some machining on this stuff, and you can
So
make your own.
let me wrap my head around
Neat
this.
thing. Now you will notice. You guys will notice this is extra
Yes.
dangerous. Can you see it?
Well, let me wrap my head around this. According to what I've been told, gangbangers and homicidal maniacs across the country are doing this. And you're saying it's a little more challenging
Oh, yeah.
than just buying this thing and maybe drilling a hole and then calling it a gun?
No, it's all in the preparation. Because what you do in the trunk of your gangbanger car, what you do is you set up a work table. Now you're going to need a couple extra things. You need a shop vac because you got to hook, the shop vac into the router port so you collect all the aluminum shavings. You need a generator, to run your router. You need to set up a work table with a jig. And then you spend, I don't know, an hour or two, machining all the metal out. And then you can start to think about assembly. But it's a pretty easy process. You throw that stuff in your trunk, you're ready for a drive-by right then. So
I can honestly say, in all of my years of being a policeman, I never met a gang member who had the brains to be able to do something like that. Was that my outside voice? Sorry, gang members, but no.
Well, but seriously, I think we were talking about this earlier this week. I have not yet heard, doesn't mean there aren't any, I have not yet heard of a crime report involving a homemade firearm.
Well, I did a little
Yeah. I mean, so is it an epidemic? I'm thinking.
I did a
no.
little investigation this week in one of our local television stations. A reporter I know who is actually a gun owner and he shoots. I wouldn't call him an avid shooter, but he knows a gentleman that's a national figure in the gun control movement. So when the Biden administration started trotting out all their stuff, my friend did this report and quoted that these ghost guns are a growing problem. And I wrote him an email. I said, besides your friend, who tells you that? Because I go with Roy. I've talked to several friends. Roy and I've talked. I had never seen a ghost gun until recently in our magazine. So, and even guns with the serial numbers filed off. I've seen a few of those, but that's not that super common because you can recover those serial numbers relatively easy. Most of the time, guns used in crimes they're stolen and they're used in a crime. It's that simple. They don't set up a machine shop and build these nefarious ghost guns and all that. And if you want a gun, you know what? Go in my neighborhood any evening after 2 a.m. and within an hour you'll find a car unlocked and there's a gun in the center console. That's how guns get used in crimes.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah. So I'm kind of stumped by this effort. One of the first big executive orders was exactly on these 80% kits. I mean, we just went through this. Really, that's the priority right now. And I think it's just the classic. Let's just chip away, and you find things that are less well understood, and you chip away at those, and you hope you get an easy win there, and then you pick the next thing, and it's ridiculous.
Low-hanging fruit, right?
Right.
And it's like when they first brought Glocks in, and everyone said, "Oh, they were invisible to X-rays." Well, we all know that wasn't the case, right? But to the average Sam and Susie homemaker out there, it's like, oh no, invisible guns. We have to outlaw them. Well, it's the same thing here. Ghost guns. Oh no, we need to outlaw them. Yeah. Woo. And so now it's the same tactic they've always done, which is that just get this low-hanging stuff that that all the shotgun sporting clays shooters don't seem to really give a shit about. Right? Well, I'm not going to make an 80% Glock. Why do I care? And no, I agree with you. I think we have to fight them all the time. Jeff Cooper said years ago, he said, it had to do with crime, he said, fight back every time. No matter the risk, no matter the odds, fight back. And I think that applies.
Well, it's the classic pie analogy, right? So we've got a pie. And if we compromise and, show some goodwill to the other side by giving them a slice, and we do that, a few times in a row, guess what? There's no pie left. That's how it works. That's that's the strategy. That's exactly the intended strategy. So
Someone said, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, someone said this about the NRA one time, and it was people say, well, why do they fight every single thing? Why just go and compromise, meet them halfway. And what I told them was that I'd be good with that. I'll compromise here if you gun grabbers compromise someplace else.
Right.
And they never
no one ever adds a slice of pie back.
No,
right?
No, they never they never compromise. They want us to constantly compromise, and then that ends up with the pie all gone.
And I think the takeaway here is, if you're a gun owner,
what we're doing,
and you don't care about 80% guns, you have to care. It is incumbent on every single one of us at this point. You got to get involved, whether you're going to use that or own that particular type of gun or not. It's a gun. They want to take away all of them. They want to take your hunting shotgun. They want to take your deer rifle. That's their goal eventually, and we're coming closer than ever. So I'll get off my soapbox, but get involved.
Well, and we're going to do our part to educate everybody on what this stuff really means. Because, Brent, I got a new job. I got this new writing gig for some startup. It's
the oldest
Guns
newsstand
magazine?
shooting publication.
Guns Magazine, I think it's called. The pay is lousy. Let me tell you that. I got conned into writing. Apparently, it's going to be a cover story on how to build an 80% rifle. But the pay stinks. Really bad.
This is going to affect your performance review.
Well, maybe I'll get to get a pay cut, but we're going to do a whole story on there about that. We're going to produce a video to show you exactly what it takes. So you'll probably come to the conclusion that my idea of starting a milling system truck, kind of like a food truck, go around and make scary, dangerous guns all over the place, is not going to pan out. We're also, where else we're doing this is we're doing another story in this year's DIY gunsmithing special edition. So you're going to be able to learn everything you want to know about building your own handguns and rifles legally for now.
Well, Tom, and that's an integral part of this too, is that not only is it legal, it's fun.
It is fun.
And it's not because we have to have all the guns and their fighting tools and all that. No, actually, it's really fun to do. Just like any other kind of gunsmithing, it's fun to craft something that you made yourself. And so that's why we support it. The Gun Cranks support 80% guns, period.
We do. So, Roy, put your machining snobbery on the shelf for a minute, and I'm just going to say I'm actually kind of really proud of this, and I can't wait to finish this thing out and go shoot it. So,
on
that note,
that's amazing. Yeah, you considering you did it with a hammer and a chisel.
Well, it was a rock. It was a rock and a piece of wood.
So. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the article later. So.
All right, I'll update you. Guys, I have a question for you. When I get pulled over by an upstanding police officer for something I definitely didn't do, like speeding or running a red light, I never, ever seem to be able to talk my way out of it. What gives?
It's because you don't have cleavage.
What he said.
Don't you know anything?
How do I get that?
Well, let's hope that you don't, okay? Yeah.
Hey, it's 2021.
I will start
Come
out by
on.
saying, well, first of all, Tom made a good point. This is absolutely sexist, but I will tell you, ask any cop in America who's been a cop more than 15 minutes, and they will mirror my same experience as a young rookie, my very first traffic stop on my own. I walk up, and it was an attractive middle-aged woman, and I swear to you, her shirt was unbuttoned down to her knees, and she's doing all this, and I mean, she's a respectable lady, but she was working it, and I'm just a blithering idiot because I'm a male. I've got visual lock on where I shouldn't be looking, but it was right there, and she was so boobies. I wondered how long before we got to that point. But the funny thing was, I wrote her the ticket, and she was angry. After she had flashed her
Yeah,
goodies
right.
at me, she still got a ticket, and it made her mad. And the thing is, that is so absolutely common. But here's my take on this. I always, when I was training rookies, I said, give the attractive women the ticket because they've already had certain advantages of life. It's the maybe the lady that can't do that, maybe you give her the break. That's completely sexist, and I should have said that, but it's the way it is.
Boy, howdy. Yeah. How's it going to
I'm
feel
glad
to have
I'm not
crosshairs on
participating
you?
in this segment.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go in another direction because he is absolutely right. Yeah, and it's just life. That's the way it is. I'm sorry if you don't like it. That's the way it is. I actually talked to some female cops, and they said, oddly enough, stopping an attractive, manly young man coming from the beach with his tank top on and glistening, suntan lotioned up muscles may or may not have affected their ability to make an objective decision about giving a ticket. So we're not sexist, we're just human beings. So I think there's another way you think you can get out of a ticket, though, and it came up surprisingly often where I worked. It was in San Diego area, and especially while I was working the La Jolla area in a traffic unit, you kind of stop doctors regularly. They're thick as fleas there. And a lot of times, 'cause they would say, oh, I'm en route to the hospital. I've just got called in. And in those days of pagers, I would say, well, show me on your pager. And they would hold up their pager and there's a call, right 10 minutes before. And it was like, okay, that's cool. Well, I stopped this one guy. And he was driving a Mercedes and it had a German license plate on it. And I said, you know what? Why do you have German license plate? And I was assuming he was going to show me like a German driver's license. And I think they had like import papers so you could drive your car around the States or something. And so he talks to me in this really thick German accent. And I speak a little German. So basically what it was he said, oh, I've just moved here and I haven't registered the car yet. I'm a physician. I'm on my way to La Jolla, hospital right now on a call in. So I'm thinking, well, okay. I'd kind of reached the limit of my ability to speak in German. Well, about a year later, I see this same car and the same German license plates. And I stop him and I walk up and it's the same guy. And he goes, oh, guten Abend, mein Police, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. You're talking to the wrong guy, Jack, And so I had him dig out all his papers. You know how they always have this many papers in their glove compartment of all the things they haven't done that they should have done when it comes to registering their car. And so I wrote him a citation and I impounded his Dr. Mercedes-Benz and left him standing on the street corner waving goodbye to me. So don't say you're a doctor unless you got the creds and the place you're going to, to
I've
pull
had
it
that
out
a couple
of the fire.
times, but what about the poop gambit? The poop strategy? That's cop's. See, Tom's learning.
I forgot
He's
about
learning
that.
all this, but what the poop gambit is.
Yeah.
No, I'm signing out.
And again, this is one
what
I
I'm
think
doing.
every single cop in America, if they've made a single traffic stop, they probably run into this. You pull them over, and it can be male, female, old, young, usually younger, and they look distraught. And you're like, license registration. Yeah, they're squirming.
They're
It boils down to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is embarrassing, but I really have to poop really bad, and I was rushing home. And it happens all the time. And the first, I'm sure I've let a few go, and then I realized, that's not my problem. And if they were doing something really stupid anyway, I went ahead and wrote them. And to this day, which I don't write traffic tickets anymore, but I never had anybody poop their pants. So it was a big scam, and we're on to you.
And I never was in court where some guy would show up and say, yes, Your Honor, I had to defecate, and that's why I was speeding. Yes, I never went to court on any of those. The other one, though, is with pregnant women. Eventually, for me, unless I was actually like the baby was coming out right then, it's like, okay, sorry. Anyway, so sign here and, good luck. But no.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about
if
the
they were
poop
hardcore,
one. That was a really good one.
I'm sorry, officer, but I have very bad diarrhea, and I just don't know if I can make it home. Well, then it sucks to be you, doesn't it? Here, press hard. You're making 4 copies.
Oh, God. I think we beat that
Tom,
into the dirt.
Have you used any of these, the pregnant woman thing or any of that?
No, you know what I was actually thinking while you guys were talking, especially that last one. I'm not going to dignify it with describing what it was. I never thought
He
of
knows
that.
now.
Yeah, but he knows now.
But now I know it won't work. So
Well, someday we have to compile a list of these because there's hundreds more, but those are probably some of the biggest ones. So we'll talk about that in another Cop Shop segment sometime.
hey guys, I got a pop quiz for you.
Sure.
You ready?
I hate this.
You got your A game going today?
Okay.
All right. It's a what is this?
It looks like Jumbo's marital aid.
I don't know what that is. I'm
It's
afraid to say.
Ridged for your. Never mind.
It must have something to do with horses.
It's got a strap. Maybe it's for an ornery horse. I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet they are so glad they
come on,
sent
you
that
don't
to
know?
you.
I give
A
up.
tactical
It's a
back
it's a
scratcher.
back scratcher.
It looks like a mace. It looks like a medieval mace.
You got it.
Is it really?
It really is. Well, I think our friends at American Tomahawk Company, we've talked about them before. I think they call it something like riot repellent, which apparently is another word
Wow.
for modern mace.
What's it made out of?
Well, see, this is made out of apparently kryptonite because it weighs about 5 pounds on the end.
Oh.
This metal stuff here. The handle, it's like a nylon tomahawk handle with all the grippy stuff going right there. Got a wrist strap so you don't lose it. I saw this thing and I'm like, oh, it's the
Non-lethal.
non-lethal option. And then I stopped myself and I go, wait a minute, this is absolutely a lethal option.
Wow.
There's
But
nothing.
does it take D
non-lethal about
batteries
this
or anything? I'm just asking.
stuff. No batteries.
You know, they.
That's amazing.
So they call it the trench. Yeah, and this thing is modeled after a World War I trench club.
Wow.
Same idea. So pretty
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Hey,
Nice
Tom,
thing to have in
how
a car,
much is
perhaps,
it?
these days? I don't know. Yeah. You know what? I knew you were going to ask that today, so I studied. I did my preparation.
There
I did
you
my
go.
homework. MSRP 125.
Well,
There you go.
I'll be damned.
So got American
Cool.
Tomahawk.
well, that's
trench.
kind of a running gag
Check
with
it out.
us about the price because one time I asked him and he wasn't prepared, and so that's why we always ask the price now, and Tom's always prepared for it. Sure you do.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm just trying to decide, what do you tell the cop when he stops you and that's on the seat next to you? And he goes, what's
Back
that?
scratcher.
Okay.
I'm
it's
an
a five-
elephant.
It's a 5
I'm an
pound
elephant
back scratcher.
reproduction specialist, and I'm on a call. Thank you very much.
I'd have to let you go. Yeah, right. Add that to our list of good excuses.
They've got to be so happy
Oh,
they sent that
gosh.
to you, Tom.
So they are. I know. So you guys are now officially jealous
Cool.
because I have an American Tomahawk trench. Bye-bye.
Can we go now? Yeah.
This has been a show for the ages. I don't know. Maybe we ought to quit here because I'm not sure we can go any more off the rails. That was good stuff, Roy. I'm going to be laughing all night thinking about your adventures with what was it, Speckles?
I was a victim.
Speckles
I'm
the
telling
gun
you.
horse.
Yeah.
Speckles the gun horse. Well, it's been great seeing everybody. Check us out on our own YouTube channel, The Gun Cranks, and make sure you check out our magazines, gunsmagazine.com, AmericanHandgunner.com, and all of our special publications, the DIY Annual, etc., etc. Drop us an email, editor@gunsmagazine or AmericanHandgunner.com. We appreciate you joining us. Let us know what you think, and we'll have another show for you if we don't get canceled. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.